Hello everyone, welcome to a session of rate analysis. Students, in the previous session we have just completed the lecture series of Introduction to Building Estimate. So today in this session we are going to start our new topic, that is rate analysis. Students, let me brief you about rate analysis. That whenever as a contractor you are taking up a work, you have to quote the rate per unit. For an example, if you are an excavation contractor, you have to quote the rate per cubic meter of excavation. So the process of deriving that rate which you are quoting, for the work, that is your rate analysis. That how will you finalize the rate, that I will work in 60 rupees per cubic meter, 80 rupees per cubic meter or 100 rupees per cubic meter. So we are going to learn all these fundamentals in the lecture series of rate analysis. So let us see what we are going to see in this session. So today we are going to see rate analysis and how to fix the rate of an item. Then we are going to see purpose of rate analysis, then factors affecting rate analysis. Then we are going to see SOR, which is known as schedule of rates, and at last we are going to see task work and factors affecting task work. So overall we are going to see major 5 theories of rate analysis. So let us begin with what is rate analysis and how to fix the rate of an item. So what is a rate analysis? So students, it is the determination of the rate per unit for a particular item of work from the cost of materials, cost of labors, cost of equipments and cost of miscellaneous expenses which are required to complete that item of work. So that is known as rate analysis. Yes, that means when you add up your material cost, labor cost, equipment cost and the other miscellaneous cost per unit and add them and divide it per unit cost, that is your rate analysis. So I hope we are clear about what is rate analysis. Moving forward, the next topic which we are going to see can be asked in many ways. It can be asked as fixing of a rate of an item, steps involved in prepare of schedule of rates, steps involved in preparation of detailed rate analysis of an item, and the last, various costs involved in the rate analysis. So these are the questions in which it can be asked, but answer of all of them is the same. Let us see. So here are the costs involved, or here are the steps which you need to perform in order to do rate analysis. The first is material cost, then labor cost, equipment cost, or which you can say tools and plant cost, then the next is sundries, then water charges, overhead charges, and the last is contractors profit. So these are the rates which we required in order to complete the rate analysis and get the rate of an item per unit basis. So let us begin with the material cost. So in material cost, the quantities of materials which are required for per unit basis are worked out. For an example, if you are talking about RCC, so materials required for 1 cubic meter of concrete, so that means cement, sand and aggregate, steel, etc. are being worked out on per unit basis. Now you know the quantities which are being used in 1 cubic meter of RCC. You know the market rate of the materials. For an example, in 1 cubic meter, if 10 bags of cement are being used and the rate of cement is 300 rupees, so you can say that the total cost of the cement used in 1 cubic meter of RCC is 3000, so as 5000 rupees of steel and 10,000 rupees of sand, and so you can have the 1 cubic meter cost of materials. So that is what first required in rate analysis, material cost. The next is labor cost. The exact number of the labors required to do particular item of work shall be obtained from the standards such as National Building Organization or from the task work of an artisan or the skilled labor. Then that number of laborers should be multiplied with their daily wages in order to get the labor cost. Students, generally in our National Building Organization Code, the number of laborers for a particular item of work is being already, the count of number of laborers is already given. For an example, for an excavation, 1 cubic meter of excavation, if 3 laborers are required, so that is given, already given in the National Building Organization, or you can count it on based on your experience. So once you get the number of laborers of different categories, then you have to multiply that number with the daily wages of them, so you'll get the labor cost. The next is cost of equipments or cost of tools and plant. Students, in some of the special works, the special categories of equipments are required, such as mixture machine, hiring charges of mixture machine, the hiring charges of vibrator needle, or the fuel required for the vibrator needle if it is based on petrol or diesel. Then hiring charges of material lift, or hiring charges of road roller, or purchase charges of road roller. So these are the equipments which are being used in our construction. So we need to calculate that cost also. That cost may be worked out on the hiring basis, rental basis, or the purchase basis. So I hope we are clear about the major 3 costs: material, labor, and transport. Moving forward, the next is sunrises. Sunrises is included in the rate analysis for small miscellaneous expenses, which can be considered as the use of minor tools and plants such as spade, tagara, etc. in order to complete the required item of work. Students, we have just completed the cost of equipment. Now what is the difference between equipment and minor tools and plant? Equipments are the tools, major tools, which requires electricity or fuel for their running. And the minor tools and plant are such as tagara, pavda, etc., which does not require any electricity or fuel. So that is considered under sunrises. Now in sunrises, generally a lump sum amount is provided in the rate analysis, because they cannot be described under particular head or as a separate item. Students, let me give you an example that if you are purchasing a tagara, that tagara is going to be used in number of activities of the construction. So you cannot define in a separate activity. So you need to take the lump sum amount of that tagara in each and every activity. For an example, if tagara cost of 500 rupees, so you can take up 50 or 100 rupees lump sumly in different item of works in which the tagara is going to be used. Now this is for the material sunrises. Labor sunrises also you have to consider for their food charges or for their transportation charges from one side to another side. So that is your labor sunrises. So I hope we are clear about the sunrises. The next is overhead charges. Now overhead charges, we have already learned in the lecture series of Introduction to Building Estimate that overhead charges generally includes the tax, rent, office stationery, printing, the salaries, administrative expense, etc. So generally 4 to 5% of the total cost of the project is being considered as the overhead charges. So that is about sunrises and overhead charges. Moving forward, the next is water charges and contractors' profit. Usually 1.5% of the water charges is added into the rate analysis, and the contractor's profit is considered as minimum of 10%. Students, in the practical scenarios of today, a contractor can earn up to 10% to 25% of the profit based on his technicality or based on his experience. So that was the cost involved in rate analysis, or steps for preparing the schedule of rates, or steps to fixing the rate of an item. I hope we are clear up to this point of session. So let us move further. So the next topic is purpose or importance of the rate analysis. So first purpose is to determine the rate of a particular item of work, rate per unit of a particular item of work. then to calculate the quantities for the particular item of material quantities, to count the number of laborers required for the particular item of work, to have the count of number of equipments required for the particular job, to know the overall cost of the project, to check the rates of to check the viability of the rates offered by the contractor, to fix up the labor contractor rates, to fix up the rate of an extra item, and to prepare the schedule of rates. So these are the purpose or importance of the rate analysis. So I hope this is a very easy topic, so I am not going into much details. Now let us see one of the important topic, that is factors affecting rate analysis. Students, there are many factors which affects your per unit rate. For an example, if you are quoting 80 rupees for an per cubic meter for excavation, there will be many factors affecting to that rate. What are they? Let us see. So overall, there are 14 factors which affects your rate analysis. The first is material cost. Students, as you already know that if material costs are vary or material cost increases during the project period, your rate will be increase or decrease. So that is one of the most basic factor, that material rates. The next is labor cost. Students, generally the labor wages are varying from place to place. If you are working with the Gujarat laborers, the rate will be different. If you are working with the Marathi laborers or Maharashtra based laborers, the rate will be different. If your laborers are from Kolkata or West Bengal, the rates will be different. If your laborers from South, the rates will be different. So it depends on the places to places, that what category of labor you are using and they are coming from which place. For an example, if there is any case where piling is not done, is not possible by equipment, so you have to do it manually augering. You have to put the auger into the ground and you have to turn it to excavate for the pile. Now this work is being specialized by the West Bengal laborers. So rate will be different. So labor cost highly affects your rate. The next is cost of equipment. Students, it is so obvious that if you hire any equipment and if you purchase an equipment, that is directly going to impact on your rate. Also, if you are hiring the equipment, then the fuel or electricity bill will be paid by whom, the operator's salary will be paid by whom, the maintenance and repair charges will be paid by whom. So these are number of certain sub factors which are connected with the cost of equipment. So that will affect the rate analysis. The next is nature of work. That means if you are excavating for one bungalow and you are excavating for 10 towers, the amount of work, nature of work, it is of a single quantity or it is a bulk quantity, the rate will be different. It is obvious that for single bungalow, excavation rate will be high, and for the scheme of a 10 towers, the excavation rate will be low. Then the next is location of the site. Students, the site location is one of the important factor, because if you are constructing in Gujarat, then and if you are a Gujarat contractor, then the rates will be very normal. But for an example, if you are a Gujarat based contractor and quoting for the Maharashtra project, then you have to think about your transportation cost, your labor transportation cost, your material transportation cost, or even your traveling expenses, and so and so. So the location of the site matters very much. The next is weather. That means the weather condition. If it is continuously raining or continuously snowfall at your site, you have to take prevention for that weather condition. So you will provide very high rates. So weather condition affects your rate. The next is specification. Specification, that means the requirement which are provided by the client. If specifications are too high or too rigid, the contractor is going to quote the high rate, or the rate analysis will be going on a higher side. Then the next is conditions of the contract. That means if the conditions of the contract are framed so as very rigid or very tight, or every responsibility is in the shoulders of the contractor, then the rate is going to be high. I hope this is very point of common sense. So there is no further details required in this two factor specification and condition of contract. That if these two are very high demanding, then the contractor is going to quote the high rate. The next is time limit. If I want to finish a work in 7 days and if I want to finish a work in 2 days, the rate will be different, because to finish a work in 2 days, the contractor has to deploy more resources, more labors, more equipments, more material. So that will be higher. Other than if the time limit is very long, the rate will be very normal or low. The next is transportation cost. Your materials and your labors are coming from which part? That is your transportation cost. You need to take care of it. If I'm constructing a building in Gujarat, but my formwork material is coming from the Mumbai, so I need to add that cost in my formwork charges. I hope you are getting my point. So this transportation cost, you have to see very well that from where your material, specifically for the material, labor is very basic. You can get the labor from surrounding of your site, but material is very basic. For some special kind of materials are coming from interstate or international level. So that affects your rate. The next is availability of water and electricity at your site. Students, sometimes it happens that the site at which you are working, you have to manage the electricity and water. So you will charge some extra amount for that in the individual item of work. The next is contractor's profit. Contractor's profit, higher the profit, higher the rate. For an example, if I am quoting 90 rupees and including the 10% profit, so the original cost is 81 rupees and I am adding 10% of the, I am adding the 9 rupees at profit. But now if I want to earn 20%, so I'll quote around 97 or 99 rupees. So I hope you are getting my point. Higher the profit of the contractor, higher the rate. The next is overhead charges. Overhead. That means the other charges, indirect cost. And we have discussed just in the previous session that if you can't control your overhead charges, it may happen that you lose your some of the part of the profit, or you may have to quote higher charges. And the last is miscellaneous. So I hope we are clear about the factors affecting the rate analysis. Moving forward, the next topic is SOR, Schedule of Rates. To facilitate the preparation of the estimate and also to serving as a guide in connection with the work, a schedule of rate of all the item is maintained in a printed book known as Schedule of Rates. Yes, students, Schedule of Rates is a printed book in which there are all the item rates of all the item of works, which serves as a guide to fix up the contract agreement or to serve as a guide in preparation of estimate. The Central Public Work Department generally prepares this Schedule of Rates. This Schedule of Rates generally contains 2,500 to 3,000 item of works under certain heads such as building items, water and sanitary fittings, road work, etc. The Schedule of Rates consists of group of items such as excavation item, plumbing item, demolition works, electrification, etc. And these rates are likely to vary. So the Schedule of Rate is generally being updated within the span of 2 to 3 years. Every 2 to 3 years, this SOR is being updated by the Central Public Work Department. Students, here I would like to discuss a scenario that SOR is being prepared to help as a guide. It is not like that you have to quote the rate according to SOR. For an example, if you talk about the excavation, in SOR, generally the excavation rate is between 85 to 90 rupees. That doesn't mean that you have to quote the 85 to 90 rupees for the excavation. Why? Because for an example, as a contractor, if you are owner of 5 JCB, your excavation cost might be around 75 or 60 rupees or 70 rupees. So you can quote the rate nearly around 60 or 70. So in such cases, you don't have to follow the SOR. SOR is just a guidance that current market rate of a particular item of works are this. So I hope you are getting my point. Another thing, that if you are quoting the rate below the schedule of rates, the client or the government can ask for the proper justification of that rate. That why you are quoting 60 rupees if in the schedule of rate it is 85 rupees. So that is the thing. So that was about the schedule of rates. Moving forward, the next topic which we are going to see is task work. So the task work is the capacity of doing the work by an artisan or a skilled labor in a particular day in the form of quantity. Yes. So a skilled labor, how much work a skilled labor can complete in the form of quantity of particular item, that is the task work, or it is known as out-turn work. So I hope we are clear about the task work. For an example, if you can write 5 papers per day, so your task work is 5 papers per day. So that is known as task work. So for laborers, it is capacity of doing the construction work. So I hope we are clear about what is task work. Moving forward, the task work depends upon the various factors such as type of labor, nature of work, skill of labor, climatic conditions, situation of work, etc. So the task work is the most uncertain part of the rate analysis. Yes, because it completely varies project to project. If we talk about Ahmedabad only, students, if I talk about Ahmedabad only, the task work will be different on various sites, because it depends on number of factors which we are going to discuss in just next slide. So now how this task work is being calculated. So it is calculated by maintaining the record of labor employed or by the experience of the contractor. This task work can be useful in fixing the rate analysis of a particular item of work. For example, let the excavation of the foundation in a building, 5 laborers worked for 5 days and the quantity of the excavation was 100 cubic meter. And now we need to find out the task work of a particular labor. So the formula is very simple. Total quantity divided by number of laborers into number of days taken by the laborers. So the total quantity was 100 divided by 5 number of days into 5 laborers per day. So that means to complete the 100 cubic meter of excavation, total 25 laborers were there, 5 laborers for each day, and there were 5 days. So 5 into 5, 25. The total quantity executed by those 25 laborers was 100. So 100 by 25, that is 4 cubic meter per day per labor. I hope we are clear about what is task work and how it is calculated. Now let us see the factors affecting task work. The first factor is nature of work. The work is underground, the work is just on the normal ground, the work is on the hill, or the work is on the 22nd floor. So the nature of work. The next is weather condition. So obvious that in extreme heat or extreme summer, the task work will be low, or in extreme cold, the task work will be low. In only normal temperature condition, the task work will be very good or above the normal level. The next is location of site. If a site is located in Jammu Kashmir or a site is located on the sea shore, so the task work will be very low compared to the normal routine sites. The next is experience, skill and the training of a person. That means the task work is also depend on the experience of a particular person who is doing the work. The next and very important factor is whether the work to be carried out on the daily wages or piecework basis. That means if the laborers are employed on their number of days or the laborers are employed on the number of the quantity basis. So that depends on the task work. If you have employed your labor on the per day basis, he will try that he completes the work in maximum number of days, because he is going to get as much as he is going to come on the site. So that is number of, he will try to increase the number of days. So task work will be low. Now reverse the scenario. If the quantity, if the laborers are employed on the quantity basis, for an example, if he completes the 100 cubic meter work, he'll get the rupees of 100. So the task work will be very high. So that also depends on the factor affecting the task work. The next is physical and psychological condition of the labor. How physically fit or how the mentally is strong person. So that depends on the task, that affects the task work. The next is labor wages. Higher the labor wages, more the task work. If you have already seen this, that in after 6 p.m. or 7 p.m. if you want to work with the labor, they'll ask for 1.5 times of their daily wages. So that is higher the wages, higher the productivity. Incentive to the laborers. Students, these are the non-monetary benefits, such as approval of the listening to music on site, or you can say you provide the charging facility at where it is working. These kind of minor incentives that boost the morale of the labor and they work with the higher task work or higher productivity. The next is specification. Again, higher the rigid the specification, more finishing or the more accuracy it will require from the labor, so lower the task work. And the last is number of laborers with the mason or artisan. Yes, how much number of laborers you are deploying with the skilled labor. The skilled person who is going to finish the work, how much laborers you are providing to him. So that also affects your task work. So I hope we are clear about what is task work and factors affecting task work. So this is it. That was all about in today's session. In case of any query or doubt, you can always contact me on my mail or my number. Thank you.